Sorry. I had to catch a bus to my parents' house because they said it was an emergency and it was that their Wi-Fi was down. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Is everybody still here? Do you guys still have faith in me? Have I betrayed your trust? Well, regardless of all that, oh geez, I am sweating. Regardless, Akechi, you won't betray me. Akechi will wait forever. It's time. It's time. Let's go. Oh geez, I'm still wearing my outdoors shoes. Well. Time to start. Hello. Hi, Tuxedoji. I am glad to be here. I should teach them how to reset the router on their own. But I mean, there's this big power button on it, you know? They might be old, but they know what a power button looks like. Why, Mom and Dad? Anyway, the black magic cult's trap. Not the black magic cult. Oh boy. What sort of crimes will we witness this time? Akechi had proven successful in locating the missing vases, gaining the respect of some of the Academy's less well-mannered students, to the surprise of all, but none more so than himself. And, though gradual, he and Kobayashi gradually found themselves the recipient of more and more investigative work as time passed. Aww. As a result, he would often need to leave classes early to see to his clients' cases. Aww, he's getting more popular.
申し訳ありません、マッケンジー先生。欠席した分の授業は後で必ず補習を受けます。
School comes first, Akechi. Fortunately, students unable to attend lectures due to work outside the academy was not an uncommon issue, and classes wherein one could cover missed topics were often held for just such a reason.
みんな面倒がって補習なんてめったに受けないのに、やっぱり明智さんは真面目ね。ねえ、俺も補習そんなことしてたら貴重な発明の時間が。
It'll be okay, Kobayashi.
時間はやりくりして作り出すものです。それに先生の教えをないがしろになんてできません。
What a good boy.
大切なのは授業の遅れを取り戻そうとする姿勢そのものです。分かったなら行きますよ。
分かるわけないじゃん。そこで友達に頼ろうとか考えないから、明智はいつまでもコミュニケーション力が培えないんだよな。
I mean, he's right though.
明智さん、いってらっしゃい。
いってらっしゃい。
頑張る。
行ってきます。
Aww, 行ってきます。Hi, Nico. I sped all the way home to see you, Freya-pyeon. I hope you didn't break any laws. Welcome. This is our love interest, Akechi.
はあ、彼女くらいだよな。明智を分かってるのは。
And this is Akechi's boyfriend.
ではマッケンジー先生、失礼します。
おい、無視かよ明智。
I only broke laws the normal amount. That's a good boy.
いいからさっさと来なさい。
二人とも気をつけて。あともう少し仲良く静かに。
Okay. Thanks, Sensei. The two of them left the classroom, Akechi half dragging Kobayashi out behind him.
あの二人もよく飽きないわね。早退するたびにあんな風にじゃれ合うなんて。そうね。でも仲良しなのはいいことよ。
Aw, Freya wishes that she could get along with Akechi the same way.
明智も小林も最近頑張ってるみたいだな。毎日のように依頼を受けてるし。
And what about you, Holmes, Watson?
少し極端な気もするがな。
Sounds like somebody's jealous.
そんなこと言ってホームズ焦ってるんじゃないのか。
この僕がなぜだ。
明智はクラスでもホームズに次ぐ成績優秀者なんだろ。しかもここに編入してから一気に成績を伸ばしてる。
ほほ
その上依頼までどんどん舞い込んだんじゃ不動だったホームズの立場が危うく。
Yeah. First he stole the class president position, and then our hearts. Yeah.
僕には僕のやり方がある。そんなつまらないことを考えるわけがないだろう。
でも明智と小林も探偵事務所を開いたんだろ。向こうはお前に対抗意識メラメラ燃やしてるかもしれないよ。
ワトソン君、明智君と小林君は事務所を開いたんじゃなくて事務所のオーナーに雇われたと聞きましたけど。
Oh, Lupin. Oh, how I love and miss you. This is the first time we saw him since the root split, I think. Oh, Lupin. Ah, Lupin, my beloved.
そうなのか。
二人の評判を聞いたオーナーから自分の仕事を手伝ってくれないかと
I'm
誘わ
also
れたらしいです。
very worried about that. Is the owner of the rival detective agency the black magic cult thing?
そうなのか、ミス・ホワイトリー。
ええ、オーナーはデハルさんといってとても親切な人らしいわ。
Dehar, huh? If that's a literary reference, then I don't get it.
二人とも学園の外に出る機会が少なかったからいいチャンスだってとても喜んでいたわ。
It's good for them. I hope it doesn't turn out poorly. My thoughts drifted back to the look of happiness on Akechi's face when he broke the news to me. Oh, can we see?
みんなそろそろ授業を再開しますよ。いいですか。いいですよね。
What was the name? I was making coffee. It was Dehar. D and then an E with an accent mark. Jar. It sounds Spanish, I guess?
今週に入ってから明智さんも小林くんも依頼で忙しそうだわ。
ホワイトリーさん、聞こえてます？
We're still so bad at school.
前に小林くんに場所を教えてもらったし事務所に行ってみようかしら。
Freya, how are you not failing?
それなら一緒にお菓子でも持っていけば美味しいものをもらって不機嫌になる人は。
Oh yeah, Akechi and Kobayashi seem to like Western sweets a lot.
そうね、それがいいわ。
Yeah. And let's bring them homemade. Meaning from Pendleton.
マープル、あなたどうしてって愚問ね。あなたとってもわかりやすいんだもの。マッケンジー先生、彼女の中で問題が解決したようなので授業の続きをお願いします。
Aww.
ええ。
Maybe I should play Sarah's ending before I get onto Lupin's. Kobayashi's directions placed the office they were working from north of the Thames, looking out onto the streets of Bishopgate.
うん
Yeah, I love Sarah. Yeah.
この辺りのはずなんだけど、探偵たるもの自力で目的地にたどり着かなきゃって言ってペンデルトンの馬車を降りたところまでは
Freya,
良
why?
かったと思うんだけど、
Freya.
やっぱり彼の話をよく聞いておけばよかったかしら。
I'm starting to regret naming the heroine after
この辺りの
myself.
建物は作りが似ていると言っていたし、灰色の石造りの建物で正面には花が飾ってあるよ。
And now that I was near, that same description I learned was apt for each building I passed. Lovely, just lovely. Thanks, Kobayashi.
せめて細かい住所まで聞いておけば。
I sighed, puffing my lips as I looked down at the basket in my hands.
仕方ないわ。近くのお店の人に聞いてみましょう。
And then we're going to run into the black magic cult? I granted myself the vigor to resume my search. Unfortunately, I neglected to pay heed to the ground before me. My foot caught on a crack in the ground. I lurched forwards. In that instant, I decided to, Nah, it's okay, we won't die from tripping. My body instinctively twisted to protect the basket in my hands from harm. Yeah, these are a gift. For Akechi and Kobayashi. Mostly Kobayashi, I think. Before I knew it, however, both I and my basket were plucked mid-fall by the arms of another. Oh? Ah. Maybe I accidentally stumbled on the Kobayashi route after all.
デディ大丈夫？
I don't want Kobayashi. Brace for impact. Protect myself! Expecting a frightful fall, I braced myself for impact. Yet before I could hit the ground, I felt someone catch me. Oh my god, it actually was.
Akechi-san.
It was Akechi who stopped my fall, his expression upon seeing me a mix of surprise and bewilderment. Honestly, I was actually expecting that choice to not matter all that much. Like in terms of CGs, I thought that Kobayashi would catch us each time. I didn't know that was an actual split.
大丈夫ですか怪我は
I was all prepared to complain about Kobayashi.
大丈夫よ。でも、明智さんどうして？
いえたまたま声をかけようとしたところであなたが足元を取られていたので
そうだったのね。
So, are you embarrassed to have a cute girl like us in your arms, Akechi? Thanks to Akechi's timely intervention, I was spared a twisted ankle or even a mild cut or bruise.
ありがとう、明智さん。
礼には及びませんよそれよりもあなたに怪我がなくて
Ah, you charmer. A look of genuine relief washed over Akechi.
こんなに近くで明智さんのほっとした顔を見るなんて。
You're the one who's vulnerable here, Freya. Whenever I drew close to Akechi, he would always pull away from me. Perhaps due to that, I found it impossible to feel calm with him so close. Is there another reason you can't feel calm, Freya? Is your heart maybe pounding? Huh? Ah? I could feel his hands supporting me. Not so forceful as to cause me discomfort, but not so light of hand that I feared slipping from his grasp. I could tell that my well-being was foremost amongst his concerns, and my face grew ever flushed when that realization came to me. Aww.
他のクラスメートに比べると明智さんは細身なのに、これも鍛錬のおかげなのかしら。
ミス・ホワイトリーどうしたんですか
ええ、明智さんって実はすごく力持ちなのかなって思って。
Actually, you say. Freya? Freya, don't be rude.
そのこういうことを簡単にできてしまう。
こういう
He paused, apparently lost in thought for a short while, until he too realized this predicament. Oh, here come the blushies.
これは
No sooner had he opened his mouth than his face flushed a deep red that was surely equal to mine.
これはそのついとっさに体が動いたというか
Oh, this virtue.
誤解しないでください僕は女性にむやみやたらにこんなことしませんから
Oh, Akechi, that's not better.
何でもありませんあなたが無事ならそれでいいんです
Saying that, he quickly let go of me.
明智さん、今の
ところでミス・ホワイトリーあなたはどうしてこんなところへ
Yeah,
見たところ
we brought
目
gifts.
的地
それは
My hands tightened around the handle of the basket I still carried.
いやあ、すまないね。私までごちそうになってしまって。
Saying that, he quickly let go of me. Crunch! Oh, so this is Dehar. Okay, yeah, I suppose he looks trustworthy. I think that if he was a bit younger, he would be my taste.
私も甘いものには目がないが、このタルトは格別だな。 他の店のものが食べられなくなりそうだ。
ありがとうございます、デハルさん。
Once I had arrived at the office, Dehar and Kobayashi insisted that I join them for tea, and I happily obliged. I brought some tea with me this time, too. From a new place, since the one that I usually order from has stopped doing deliveries on Sunday, which is good for them. They deserve a break.
明智君と小林君には頑張ってもらっているからね。
いえ、そんな。まだまだ休むことなど。
Akechi, what did we say about Karoshi? Akechi seemed somewhat disquieted.
それに最近、町では妙な人さらいの噂も広まっているようですし。
Because of the cult?
ああ、もしかして魔術師気取りの人さらいのことか？
魔術師気取り？
ええ。これはあくまで噂なのですが。
Akechi began to relate to me the rumors circulating in London. The kidnapper is supposedly a man clad in a black coat. Evidence suggests him to be gathering up poor children with nowhere else to go.
へえ、退屈してるならいいものを見せてあげるよ。
This voice actor seems familiar, but I'm not sure how. He gestures, tracing a circle in the air. Then, as though conjured from empty space, coins begin to pour to the ground below. No doubt it is a simple act of legerdemain, but it's more than enough to capture the children's fancy. Then the real trick begins.
どうだい？僕についてくればもっと面白い場所へ連れて行ってあげるよ。それにもっといいものを見せてあげてもいい。さあ、どうする？
Jeez. These are bad vibes. According to the stories, he's used this method to gather great crowds of children all at once, and then taking them away with him.
うさんくさい噂だけどな。その男はその時々によって容姿を変える。黄色に黒、派手な虎を模した仮面を身につけてるかと思えば。
People can have different disguises, Kobayashi. It would help them to not be recognized immediately if, like, a kid showed up in a crowd more than once. Legerdemain, sleight of hand? Oh, that's a big word.
まるで吸血鬼のような牙を持っている。
虎に吸血鬼？
A tiger vampire. A vamp tiger. Could someone that outrageous truly exist? They're called masks, Freya.
ですが、もし本当だとしたら、犯人の目的が読めません。
I mean, why would anyone want a bunch of really poor children? Why don't you ask Mr. Giles?
以前、僕たちが捕まえた誘拐犯と違い、犯人が狙っているのは貧しい子供。身代金目当てではないとすれば、一体どうしてそんな真似を？
Think, Akechi, think.
確かに、そんなに子供を集めてどうするつもりなのかしら。
Freya? Okay, I know that she's sheltered, but she has to know that people commit violent acts against children, right? Such as black magic cult sacrifices? Like she read in the newspaper yesterday? Akechi's mind had already begun plumbing the depths of the rumors anew, face locked in consternation until he was interrupted. Oh, a sip? Thank you, Zakuichi. Right. Oh, that is gross. Okay, next week I'll try a different place. But I am hydrated.
明智君、事件ばかり考えていてはせっかくのタルトが味わえないぞ。
He's a good boss. Dehar had himself steeped a pot of tea for everyone.
さすがデハルさんは話がわかる人だな。お菓子への理解が薄い明智とは大違いだ。
A madman.
一言余計ですよ、小林。僕は犯人の目的について。
まあまあ、いいじゃないか。ほら、紅茶も冷めないうちに飲むといい。
You didn't poison this tea, did you, boss? And then you'll tell us to stop, don't drink that tea?
いただきます。
Giving in to Dehar's gentle prodding, Akechi reached for a tart and his cup of tea.
明智、こんなに美味しいタルトでもぶっちょう面かよ。もう少し嬉しそうに食べろよな。
いいえ、僕はこれでもちゃんと美味しく味わって。
ほんとかよ。明智って何食べてもめったに表情変えないじゃん。
あら、そんなことないわ。
Oh, we're getting more used to reading Akechi's subtle expressions.
え、レディー、なんで？
港で初めて2人に会った時は明智さんにタルトを食べてもらえなかったけれど、今日はこうして丁寧に食べてくれているわ。
Aw,
そんなこともありましたね。
he says, but he's smiling. I wasn't sure whether it was his enjoyment of the tart or if he was reminiscing about the past, but Akechi's lips curled into a soft smile.
明智が甘いものを口にして嬉しそうにしてる。
You're welcome, Kobayashi.
信じらんない。明智が嬉しそうにするなんて。好物の刺身感抹茶出た時ぐらいだけだったのに。
刺身。
Sashimi?
魚を生のまま食べるという奇想天外な料理だね。私も明智くんから聞いて初めて知ったよ。
奇想天外ですか。生魚の扱いは大方想像がついていました。
そうすねるなよ、明智。代わりにフィッシュ&チップスでも食べればいいだろ。
Dehar certainly hit the mark. Eating raw fish was decidedly not a widespread concept in England. As our tea time wound to an end, Dehar informed us that he had business that needed tending to, and we saw him off. After that, I happened to recall something. Was it about the cults?
興味といえば、お刺身がどんな味なのかももちろん気になるけれど、ずっと気になっていたんだけれど、明智さんと小林くんの故郷ってどんなところなの？
You want to learn about what made him the man he is? You want to know more about where he's from? What his home is like? Do you want to memorize the taste of his family's miso soup? Do you want to make him miso soup for breakfast every day?
故郷、日本のことですか？
ええ、ずっと知りたいと思っていたの。どんな場所なのか、どんな人が住んでいるのか。
Akechi cast a sidelong glance at Kobayashi, who was availing himself of another of my tarts before answering. Oh, we get a CG for this, so soon.
まずはじめに言えることは、日本の女性は姿勢や立ち居振る舞いにとても気を使います。
Right, that sounds about the same as 19th century England. Freya here is the exception, not the rule. I realized I had begun to lean forwards in my chair and slowly work to straighten my own posture. Perhaps he wouldn't notice if I went about it slowly.
日本の女性って言ったらあれだろ。長い黒髪の大和なでしこ。明智の好みだろ。
What do you guys think? For me, it kind of depends. I mean, I like the Yamato Nadeshiko look too, but I don't think that I would want to date a girl like that. So again, it would depend a lot. Like, I'm not totally biased against it. It's just, how to say... I don't think that we would have a lot of interpersonal chemistry with the way that I am. Like, you know, hoodies and stuff. Really tiny.
黒髪の
I had to glance at my own hair for a moment. Blonde. Decidedly anything but traditional or beautiful.
僕の好みはどうでもいいんです。それよりも小林、お前は食べ終わってから話しなさい。しかし、女性を野に咲く花に例えるように、日本では自然界のありとあらゆるものに意味を込め崇拝してきました。
I can't really say there's so many types of lovely in the world. I can certainly imagine being smitten with the Yamato Nadeshiko. Yeah, I get it.
春には桜をめで、夏には青空を見上げ、秋にはスズムシの声に耳を傾け、冬には 白雪の冷たさを肌で感じてまた春を待つ。
My favorite part about autumn is the food. Yams.
四季によってもたらされる恩恵に人は風流と感謝を感じていました。感謝の心を忘れないようにする、それは人と人との間でも同じことです。日本では男女に関係なく慎みと謙虚さを併せ持つことが美徳だと考えられてきました。
Sometimes to a fault. But then I think that all cultural identities can be problematic when pushed too far.
お互いに気持ちを汲み取り察すること、それは相手への気遣いと思いやりがなければできません。
Yeah. So it's difficult for people who can't really read the atmosphere.
そういった思いやりが困った者へ手を差し伸べようとする義理と人情を育てるのです。
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
自然や季節、目には見えないものにも敬意を忘れないのね。それに明智さんは義理と人情に溢れた人なのね。
I found myself recalling the graceful poise of Akechi's movements when he drew his katana.
僕はまだまだです。
Akechi spoke softly, with a face that in its tenderness reminded me of the moment when he placed his hand upon Rick's head. Oh yeah, Rick. Remember that guy from last
エ
week?
ゲレスに負けないくらい日本は素晴らしい国です。僕は日本に生まれ育ったことに誇りを持っています。
もちろん俺も。
Having finished his tart, Kobayashi was at last free to open his mouth once more.
日本は食べ物も美味しいからな。レディにも白米のおにぎりとモナカを食べさせてあげたいよ。きっと気
I'm
に入るはずだから。
not very fond of onigiri. But I'll take you up on that Monica anytime, Kobayashi.
私もいつか日本の四季をこの目で見てみたいわ。それに小林くんの言うおにぎりともなかも食べてみたい。
It may have just been a trick of the mind, but in that moment I sensed the fleeting loneliness in Akechi.
でも日本まで行くのが大変なんだよな。船旅って船に弱いと地獄だし、どこにも逃げ場がないから。
Yeah. And then the moment you came to England's shores, you ran into Freya here being racist.
大丈夫よ。私乗り物には強いもの。
日本に好感を持ってくれたのは嬉しいのですが、正直言ってあなたが日本へ来るのはあまりおすすめできません。
I was taken aback at his interjection.
明智さん、なんだかさっきと比べて
Oh.
雰囲気。
明智？
あなたのような慎みのない女性が日本へ来てしまったら
Akechi?
お互いに気の毒です。
I can't believe he's doing this. Oh my god. He's really negging us so that we don't go to Japan and leave him because he can't go back to Japan. And he wants us to stay by his side. I can't believe he's doing this. Akechi is fool.
日本ではあなたを英国淑女の鏡と勘違いしてしまうし、あなたはあなたできっと正座ができなくて困るでしょ。
He doesn't want us to see Japan's ugly side. Akechi. Akechi is fool. Hang on. That's so romantic, the prick, right? Oh boy, let me get my Akechi is fool graphic. Let me get my Akechi is fool. Japan just could not handle your hotness. Illegal civil unrest. Yeah, exactly. The world isn't ready for Emily Freya Whiteley. Mm. Oh boy, where should I put this? I think here's a good place. There we go. Now we always know. Akechi is fool. Why is her hair all gold? That's illegal.
そんなことないわ。
Oh
私だ
no,
って
you
星座
can't,
くらい
Emily. You definitely cannot, Emily Freya. Framily. How dare he? That wasn't his assumption to make.
えレディって今まで正座したことあったっけ？
I don't think she even knows what Seiza is.
ないわ。だけどきっとできると思うの。
And I can't even stay in Seiza position for 15 minutes.
忍耐力と精神力を甘く見てもらっては困ります。あなたならものの数分で棄権するでしょう。僕たちは報告のため日本へ戻らなければなりませんが、あなたのような人を英国淑女として報告することだけは勘弁してほしいですね。
どうしてかしら。明智さんの言葉。
Please realize it.
いつもよりも。
Please. It reminded me of him when he rejected Rick's request to become his student. Oh? Oh, is she connecting the dots? Before I could spend another minute fretting over Akechi, however, a pertinent detail amongst what he said caught my attention.
日本に戻る？
当然のことです。僕たちは遊びに来ているわけではないので。
Wait, you haven't been banished?
そうよね。留学生としてここへ来ているんだもの。
Wow, I thought that he was kicked out of his house for
当
good.
たり前だわ。
Akechi spoke of their inevitable return to their homeland with complete indifference. To him, it was just one more stepping stone in his path. And Akechi, why don't you want us to follow you? Is it because you think that a white person would have difficulty in Japan just like you've had difficulty in England? Akechi. Akechi is fool. So why did it weigh upon me so heavily? That the two of them would one day leave was simple truth. A truth I didn't wish to face.
ミス・ホワイトリー、僕たちはすぐにいなくなるわけではありません。だから今からそんな寂しげな顔をしても。
Maybe he can return to Japan, just not his home? Oh, I hope he's saving up enough money so that he can live by himself back there.
そうだよ。そんなずっと先のこと考えて寂しがってたら、いざ別れるってなった時に大変だぞ。
Kobayashi gave me a kind smile, but that only caused a lump in my throat to catch all the more.
そうよね。二人が日本に帰るまでにもっとこの国のいいところをたくさん知ってもらわなくちゃ。私頑張っている二人を応援しているわ。
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Nico, since you weren't here last week, Akechi was raised by his what's the word again? Was it kendo? I can't remember, but his martial arts master instead of his dad, who was the original Kogoro Akechi. And he thought of the martial arts master as his own father, but then when he raised his sword against a bunch of nobles who were trying to goad a poor kid into killing himself for coins, yeah, Akechi stopped that right away. And then his martial arts master said that that was disgraceful and sent him out. But I'm pretty sure that it was just to protect Akechi from the noble people.
気持ちはありがたく受け取っておきます。
Man, is that messed up or what, though? My mind played another trick on me. This time I thought I saw the light in his eyes quiver behind his spectacles.
二人とこうして一緒にいられる時間は
I want to stay with you forever, Akechi.
明智さんと小林くんが 日本に帰ってしまったら次はいつ会えるの？いいえ、また会えるのかどうかもわからないわ。
Oh, terrifying? It sure is. The 19th century sounds scary.
そんなの寂しい。ずっとこのままでいたい。
It wouldn't be right, though, that I would try to hold the two of them captive to my own selfishness.
二人の迷惑にはなりたくない。
Yeah.
このまま
Follow them to Japan instead. I considered it rationally. It made sense from every other angle of logic. It did. But my heart still ached thinking of that day when we would have to part.
それに明智さんは私に日本へは来ないでほしい口ぶりだった。
That would be because he's fool.
だけど今までの明智さんはあんな風に冷たい言い方はしなかったわ。それなのにどうしてなのかしら。
Think, Freya, think. I could not find an answer. Kobayashi heaved a sigh after Freya left the office to return to her mansion. Oh, we're back in third person, huh?
おい明智、お前どうしてあんなこと言ったんだよ。
Because he's fool.
何の話ですか？
とぼけるなよ。お前彼女に慎みがないとか淑女らしくないとか、まるで日本に来てほしくないみたいな言い方、彼女に失礼だろ。なんであんな言い方。
Man, this route really would be a mess without Kobayashi here to intervene.
僕が日本に誇りを持っていることに嘘はありません。
Akechi could not meet Kobayashi's eyes.
ですが伝統を重んじるがゆえに人々の異国に対する風当たりが厳しいことも。
He really is worried about the xenophobia. That's sweet, but also he's fool.
もし彼女が日本に来たら差別の目を向けられる。そんな目に合わせたくない。
ま
おい明智。
Oi, oi. Kobayashi slumped his shoulders in disbelief and glared at the detective.
だとしたらお前って言葉選ぶの本当に下手だな。明智のくせに。
それはどういう意味ですか？
Kobayashi is holding this polycule together.
どうしてそこで回りくどい言い方してレディを遠ざけようとするんだ。日本にも差別はある。道を歩いてたらいきなり襲われるかもしれないってさ。俺はレディはそんなことでひるむような
別に僕は彼女を弱いと思っているわけでは。
Yeah, we're not weak, but you still want to protect us, right? This ain't protecting us, Akechi. You fool.
同じことだよ。心にもないこと言ってる時点で明智はレディに壁作ってるし。
Akechi darkened upon hearing Kobayashi's chastisements.
それにさ、レディがあんな寂しそうな顔してたのに。
思ったところで僕にどうしろと言うんです？
慰めろよ。慰めて安心させてやれよ。
Hugging us?
僕よりもそれはお前の方がずっと適任です。
Very exhausted, so I'm heading out, but I'm glad I stopped in. Have fun freeing it up. Thanks for coming, Nico! And good night! Have lots of rest.
お前それ本気で言ってるのか？
小林、お前はさっきから僕をけしかけて。
俺もしレディが日本で心ない扱い受けても明智なら絶対レディを守ろうとすると思ってた。
Exactly.
レディが寂しそうな顔したら不器用でもなんとか元気づけようとすると思ってた。結局明智は自分のことしか考えてない。
Kobayashi's doing this again, huh? Just like last chapter. Cutting off from Akechi to make him think really hard about what he's done. Will Lephrep be alright?
明智が周囲に認められたくて一生懸命なのはわかるよ。そうやって心にもないこと言って相手を突き放すのはお前の師匠とやってることが一緒だと思う。
Kobayashi understands.
小林、あの人の話はやめてください。
At the mention of his master, Akechi's left hand tightened around the sheath of his sword. Akechi.
心にもない気休めはよしてください。僕はあの人に縁を切られたんですから。
Akechi, don't be fool.
いくらお前でもこれ以上の話はごめんです。
わかったよ。だけど相変わらずひねくれた返事だな。たまには素直に腹割って話さないと持たないぞ。
Kobayashi truly is a good boy, no spark but infinite love. Yeah. Akechi remained silent, his face still as a stone. Kobayashi could only give another exasperated sigh.
明智って自分に分の悪いことにはいつもだんまりだよな。
He really is right all the time.
わかったって。今はこの話題から身を引いてやる。
I think that Kobayashi is hogging all the brain cells.
随分と上から目線ですね。
これでもいろいろ考えてるんだぜ。一つお前に聞いておきたいこともあったし。デハルさんのことでな。
Dehar? Oh, is he part of the cult after all?
気づいてたんですか？
The mention of their employer caused Akechi's head to snap up.
まあね、明智ほど早く気づいたわけじゃないけど。
Oh, even though I thought he was trustworthy.
デハルさんは僕たちに仕事を任せてくれています。浮気調査や企業の水筒調査、ペット探しに依頼された人物の身辺調査。
Is it that he's keeping them busy so that they don't investigate what's really important?
だけどその特定の人物の身辺調査、依頼が終わった後に全員行方不明になってる。
Huh?
しかもその対象者全員姿を消す直前に
デハルさんはその教会に毎月多額の寄付金を送っています。それも彼の日頃の生活からかけ離れた不自然な金額を。
Oh. So the cult is at the church, huh?
水筒調査の依頼、ついでに自分のところも調べたらびっくりだよな。そして毎週火曜と金曜の夕方以降必ずどこかへ外出する。
Hmm.
金曜の今日もやっぱり出かけていったけど。
Is this the trap? Being so obvious with his activities that Akechi and Kobayashi will have no choice but to follow him? Is he thinking that far ahead?
どうするんだ。気づいてずっと俺に黙ってたってことは理由があるんだろう。
デハルさんは僕たちの恩人でもあります。疑うなんて恩をあだで返すようなものです。
I mean, maybe Dehar is a victim, just like the person who was bribed into almost getting Freya kidnapped.
まあ恩人を怪しむなんて義理人情に熱い明智にはしんどいかもな。
Maybe he doesn't know about the black magic
俺も疑いたく
activities.
ない。でももしかしたらって場合もあるんだからな。情に流されすぎるなよ。
I'm queer too.
分かっています。ちゃんと自分の頭で考えますよ。
本当かな。明智ってすぐに突っ走るところがあるから心配でたまらないんだけど。
悪かったですね。
自覚してるならちょっとは直す努力をしてくれよ。
He's right.
それにもうレディに冷たくするなよ。この国の男は女の子に優しくするもんなんだから。
Exactly. What did Watson teach you about ladies first? Akechi fell silent, his face bent into discomfort. It was several days later whilst we lunched that new event transpired. I was returning to the classroom from the library with a new stack of books in hand.
日本について書かれた本はたくさんあるけれど、どれも分厚いわ。
Akechi's reminiscing about Japan had fallen on fertile soil, and in the intervening days I chose to begin researching the country and its customs privately. And the more reading I did, the more I found myself appreciating the profundities of Japanese culture. Why, it was only 2 days past that I learned the difference between zazen and seiza. I don't know what zazen is. Wait, is that the side sitting? Anyway, congratulations, Freya, you're a weeaboo now. Oh no, she's become a weeb. But just as I was about to enter the courtyard, books in hand, I caught sight of two familiar faces.
あら、これはホームズと明智さん。
It wasn't as though seeing the two of them talking together was a particularly rare sight in itself. After all, they did converse in the classroom from time to time, but this time...
珍しいですね。ホームズ君が僕を呼び出すなんて。
Ah, so Holmes initiated.
まあ、一つ君に聞きたいことがあってな。
何かしら。二人ともいつもと雰囲気が違うような。
Did Holmes also find out about Dehar? I couldn't help but notice a certain tension that hung in the air between them. While I confessed to feeling a certain guilt at listening to their conversation, I simply couldn't suppress my curiosity, and concealed myself behind a nearby pillar so as to hear them better.
君と小林君を事務所に引き入れているオーナーについてだ。
He found out.
デハルさんが何か？
担当直入に聞くが、そのオーナーは本当に君たちの信用に足る人物なのか？
Ouch, Akechi's loyalties.
それはどういう意味ですか？
良くない噂を聞いたんだ。教会や給品員に多額の寄付金を送っている者の中に怪しげな動きをする者がいると。
怪しげな動き。
自分の利益のために教会地下に違法薬物を買い集めたり、スラム街や給品員の子供を怪しげな組織に引き入れたり。あくまで噂だが、そんな事件が実際に引き起こされ新聞を騒がせているのも事実だ。君たちのオーナーも教会へ多額の寄付をしていると聞いた。だから
そんなはずはありません。
Akechi interrupted Holmes before he could even finish, his voice tense.
ホームズ君、あなたは教会に寄付をする人の善意を疑うんですか？
疑いたくはない。だがその善意の下に隠れて事件が起こっている。
デハルさんはそんなことをする人ではありません。
Oh? But didn't you have your own suspicions, Akechi?
どうしてそう言い切れる？君たちを駒にしたいだけかもしれないだろう。
Keeping you two occupied so that you don't investigate the missing kids?
ホームズ君、いくらあなたでも言っていいことと悪いことがあります。
Akechi's tone intensified, laced with an uncharacteristic anger.
僕は今まで人の善意に支えられてきました。周りが白い目で僕を見る中、数少ない善意のおかげでここまで来れたんです。
Oh, Akechi, this loyalty isn't good for you.
幼い頃に母が死んでからずっと認められるために努力してきた。
Oh, his mom died. Was that mentioned the last time? Oh, Jesus, that why Akechi Sr. doesn't want to see him? Oh, that is rough.
どんなに周りから情けないやつ、お前なんていらないと言われ続けても歯を食いしばってきた。家から追い出されてやっと信じられる人に、師匠に出会えたと思った。
I thought that Holmes would be the one with the Papa complex, but Akechi.
それなのに自分の正しいと信じる道を選んだ途端、僕は見放された。
Akechi spoke with a quiet, rising intensity, but I could hear his voice quaver ever so slightly.
だから僕は信じた道を進むしかなかった。進み続けて自分の居場所を勝ち取る以外道がなくなったんです。 何不自由なく探偵として活躍しているあなたと違って
Excuse me?
僕はそうやって探偵になる努力をするしかなかったんです。
Hang on. There we go, I made it bigger.
日本でもこの国でも僕はずっと限られた人間の善意に救われてきました。恵まれているあなたが今まで僕が得てきたものを軽んじることは、否定することは
Akechi, you're not the only one here with a dad complex. I had never heard him sound so pained before. Akechi. I was transfixed, unable to move from where I stood.
確かに君と僕では生まれも境遇も異なる。考え方だって異なって当然だ。だが明智君、そうやって君は情に流されるのからしくないな。
Yeah.
僕はホームズ君と違って人の思いやりを疑いたくはありませんから。これ以上話すことがないのなら僕は
Akechi
失礼
just
します。
doesn't want to lose the place where he belongs, even if it's a bad place. Which coincidentally is also a really good cult tactic. Before the words had even left his mouth, Akechi turned and began walking away.
どうしよう。明智さんがこっちに来る。
Realizing I would surely be spotted if I stayed where I stood, I leapt out from behind the pillar, only to find myself staring him squarely in the face.
明智さん。
Smooth.
ミスホワイト
I could tell he was taken aback, stunned nearly speechless by my unexpected appearance.
どうしてここもしかして聞いて
Hear all of what? He seemed to deduce the answer for himself from my nervous behavior without having to wait for my reply. Good job, Emily. The expression he wore was full of more sorrow than I had ever seen in him before.
ごめんなさい。私。
あなたにだけは聞かれたくありませんでした。
Akechi turned his back to me, hanging his head. I felt my chest tighten at the sight. Unable to resist my impulse, I began to run toward him. Hug! Hug!
待って、明智さん。
Hug!
来ないでください。
That sounds like you need a hug. He swung his hand out as if to ward me off, but instead struck my own arm. And as my grip faltered in that moment, the stack of books I had been holding went tumbling to the floor. Oh. No doubt he had no intention of making physical contact, for I'd never seen him look so flustered.
すみませんミスホワイトに怪我は
Quick grab onto him.
物音が聞こえたと思ったらまた君か、ミス・ホワイトリー。
Don't give me that Holmes you saw all this time.
こんなに日本の本ばかり借りてきて一体何の勉強だ？
ホームズ。
Holmes. Holmes bent down and began to pick up some of the books from the floor. Just as he had begun, however, the hand Akechi had extended to me stopped.
出会い頭に明智君と衝突でもして本を取りこぼしたんだろう。君らしい事故だが、図書館の本を汚したら立派な器物破損になるぞ。
そうなの。私ったら目の前の明智さんに気づかなくて、次は気をつけなきゃ。明智さん、私はどこも怪我なんてしてないわ。安心して。
Oh. I did my best to put forth as cheerful a front as I could, in hopes that he wouldn't realize how shaken his repelling swing had made me.
失礼します。
It didn't work. He turned his back once more, and without another word, walked away.
追いかけなきゃ。
Still, the first time I had been so desperate to pursue him, but having been spurned by him once already, my own fear fixed me to the spot. I couldn't bring myself to move an inch, or even retrieve the books that lay scattered around me. Well, Holmes, are you gonna help?
ミス・ホワイトリー、この本は君には少し重いだろう。教室までだったら代わりに持とう。
Oh my god, he really is going to help. Who are you, and what have you done with Holmes?
だから今はとりあえずその顔を何とかしたまえ。 気づいていないのか？ひどい顔だぞ。
Oh, it's the stress.
まったく。明智君といい君といい、僕のクラスメートには面倒なものが多いな。
Yeah, you can say that again, Holmes. Now's your chance to steal the girl, Herlock.
ねえホームズ、私明智さんに嫌われてしまったのかしら。
Freya, I'm sure that you already know the answer to that.
そんなの本人に直接聞きたまえ。
そんなこと怖くて。
はあ、ミス・ホワイトリー、君にも怖いものなんてあったんだな。
Yeah, so what's wrong with it?
本当に君も明智君も仕方ないな。
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. That's why we need you and Kobayashi to do the heavy lifting. Holmes's words proved cold comfort, but he was kind enough to carry my stack of books for me, as he had offered. That day after school, I returned to the mansion, but from there set out again for the streets of Bishopsgate. I could only assume my gloom had been writ clearly upon my face, for Pendleton, who had escorted me hence by carriage, expressed his concern. Oh, yeah? Is he going to say something like, if Akechi ever hurts me again, he will be skinned alive? Thinking on what had happened still caused my heart to ache, but far more dreadful was the prospect of doing nothing at all, of succumbing to the desolation of my soul.
一人で考えていても仕方ないわ。明智さんに会ってちゃんと盗み聞きしてしまったことを謝らないと。でももし来るなって言われたら。
Then you ask Kobayashi to pass a message for you. Just as my malaise threatened to again overtake me, I saw a familiar figure in the distance. Oh, is it going to be Mr. Dehar?
あれはデハルさん？
Oh, and we're gonna wander right into him, luring some orphans into the basement of the church? He was crossing the road ahead of me and looked to be in a hurry. I thought to call out to him, then stayed my tongue, recalling what Holmes had said earlier that day.
良くない噂を聞いたんだ。教会や給品員に多額の寄付金を送っている者の中に怪しげな動きをする者がいると。自分の利益のために教会地下に違法薬物を買い集めたり、スラム街や給品員の子供を怪しげな組織に引き入れたり。あくまで噂だが、そんな事件が実際に引き起こされ、新聞を騒がせているのも事実だ。君たちを駒にしたいだけかもしれないだろう。
デハルさんがそんな人だとは私も思えない。
You just met him, Freya.
だけどもしその可能性があったら、明智さんや小林くんが利用されているとしたら。
A pervasive sense of unease hung over me, knowing that Akechi and Kobayashi would pay a dear price if Dehar truly was the kind of person Holmes seemed to believe.
私のただの思い過ごしならそれに越したことはないわ。
Taking care that he didn't notice me as I trailed well behind him, I followed Dehar's trail. Maintaining my steady pace, I found myself gazing up at his destination, St. Spira Church.
この教会、ひょっとしてデハルさんが寄付金を送っている教会かしら。
I knew that if I took my eyes off him even for a moment, I would lose sight of him, a circumstance I wished to avoid at all costs. So she's going to get snuck up on by a guard and kidnapped again. Rather than entering into the church from the front, he instead took a narrow path that wound behind it.
教会の裏？一体何の用があって？
The path he had trod terminated in a single unremarkable shed. Is that where they keep the missing children?
行き止まり？デハルさんは。
Careful not to make so much of a sound, I carefully nudged the shed's door open. A first glance revealed nothing out of the ordinary, a standard storage shed, replete with boxes in dark corners and bedecked with spider webs and dust.
これは。
That's nice, but why are you saying that out loud? I noticed that one particular part of the door was wholly free of dust, a marked contrast from the rest. A careful inspection of that section of the floor revealed a hidden door that could be lifted to reveal an entrance. Oh? Carefully, I grasped the handle and opened it.
階段だわ。教会の地下に続いているのかしら。確かめなくちゃ。
Right now? Freya! Freya? No. Now is the time to call the cops first. Call the cops. I know, ACAB, but this, Freya, this is a job for the cops. At least tell them where you are. At least tell them where you are. At least tell Pendleton where you are. Still uneasy, I summoned my courage and made my way down to the stone staircase to the subterranean chamber. Freya! Freya is fool. Having taken great pains to not make a sound during my descent, I at last reached the bottom of the stairs. I am the cops, says Miss Whiteley.
これは
Ah, that's a pentagram. The sight that unfolded before my eyes threatened to draw the very breath from my lungs. Uh-huh, and she's going to get bashed over the back of the head any minute now?
これは一体何かの儀式かしら。
Yeah, they're young lambs, don't you know?
どうしてあんなにたくさんの子供が。
I blanched at the feeling of dread that washed over me. I stood upon the unhallowed ground of the very same sort of black ritual whose gruesome details had filled the newspapers of late. A magic circle had been drawn upon the floor, and was now surrounded on all sides by what appeared to be destitute children.
さあ戦え、殺せ、力を示せ。スペルバウンドの役に立つことを証明してみせるんだ。
Oh, geez, this is more brutal than I expected.
デハルさん。
Each other? I barely recognized the Dehar I saw standing near the magic circle. So wild and hollow his aspect seemed in the wan light.
どうした？これは神聖な儀式だ。恐れることは何もない。お前たちは目の前の相手を仕留めればいい。
Is he making the poor children kill each other? His voice trilled as though taken in the pangs of ecstasy. In one of his raised hands he clutched an orange and black mask, its shape that of a tiger's face. Within the circle, two children stood facing one another. Oh, geez. Each clutched a knife in their small hands, knuckles white. The sight seemed surreal to me.
まさか。
The disturbing scene playing out before me set my teeth on edge. Figures surrounding the circle, adults and children alike, seemed overcome with euphoria as they shouted at the two boys who now faced off. Oh jeez, oh jeez.
何なのこれは。おかしい。絶対おかしいわ。それにこの匂い。何かしら。
Though I could not identify its source, a smell that pervaded the atmosphere of that infernal den began to play upon all my senses, bringing me to doubt whether this present scene was truly real. Dizziness then took hold of me, and I placed my hand against the wall to steady myself. Just as I began to regain my footing, loud cries burst forth from the crowd, reverberating up and down the hall. Did you get spotted, Freya? Because you didn't call the cops?
首をかっきれ。
Oh geez.
いいや、心臓一突きだ。早くやれ。
I couldn't bear to watch for a single second more.
早くこのことを二人に伝えないと。
Just as I turned to flee back the way I had come. Are you going to trip right now, Freya? Ah, there it is. I was grabbed from behind, my nose and mouth smothered by a cold cotton cloth. No sooner had I felt its touch than my vision began to blur, my consciousness slipping from me. This is why we call the cops, everybody. I struggled as best I could, wiggling and kicking, but the sum of my strength was as effectual against the arms restraining me as wind howling against a mountain.
これは薬。ダメ。こんなところで。
Well, that's about it, everybody. Just kidding.
早く明智さんに。
Against the power of that terrible chemical, my determination failed me, and my consciousness slipped away into the dark abyss.
本当にお嬢様は
あなたたちの元をお尋ねにならなかったのですか？
Pendleton!
はい。
俺も明智もレディとはその日学園で会ったきりだよ。
そうですか。お嬢様はあなたたちに会いに行くとおっしゃってこちらまで向かわれたはずなのですが、
Time for Pendlegun?
思い詰められたご様子だったので、お二人に何か大切な話があったのかと。
The day that Pendleton came to call upon Akechi and Kobayashi, Freya had been uncharacteristically absent from classes due to illness, where we'd gone for an entire day. They later learned from Pendleton, however, that Freya was in fact missing, and last seen making her way to the office where they worked.
では、何か思い出したことがあれば教えてください。お願いいたします。
Oh, he sounds surprisingly calm. With a nod, Pendleton left the office. He's getting his weapons ready.
レディがいなくなったのは火曜日か。毎週デハルさんがいなくなる日だな。
Oh. It's time for Akechi to value us more than he values pretend loyalty.
小林、まさか彼女の失踪にデハルさんが関わっていると。
Akechi, don't be fooled.
そうじゃなきゃちょっとおかしいだろ。どうしてレディは俺たちに会いに来なかったんだよ。俺はセントスピラ教会に行く。お前はどうするんだよ、明智。
僕は。
Oh?
あれからもうどれぐらい経ったのかしら。
Locked in a dark cell, I found it impossible to accurately mark the passage of time. My only means of approximating how long had passed was the number of times the guard brought me bread and water. Oh geez, how long has she been here? I thought it was only like a day or a day and a half, but... Listening to the guards converse, I had gathered that underground area in which I was being held was replete with children carefully funneled in from workhouses and the poorest districts of the city.
救貧院は国の援助と寄付で成り立っている公的な施設なはずよ。彼らはもう間もなく子供たちを組織の兵士として外国へ運び出すと言っていたわ。
It is only a day or so, people just keep redeeming.
香港の植民地に向けて。
Wow. Just 300 channel points and Freya gets food.
しかもこの地下に証拠は一切残さない。すべて焼き払うって。
Oh, a sip? All right, thank you, Tuxedoji. I should get water from now on. Yeah, I think that next Sunday I'll just have some water instead of tea. It tastes like they just poured some instant powder into some lukewarm water.
そんなことさせるわけにはいかない。
At this rate, I would either be killed so as to prevent me from revealing what I knew, or taken abroad with the others. In either case, I would be unable to get a message to anyone I knew.
私はどうしたらいいの？もしかしたら明智さんも利用されてしまうかもしれない。
I had done my best to suppress my gnawing sense of unease, but it crept to the surface once again, and the next moment I felt tears stream down my cold cheeks.
まただ。この地下一帯にはクリスタルという薬が焚かれているって言っていたわ。感情の起伏を増幅させて恐怖を和らげる薬だって。
When even the slightest pangs of loneliness or hopelessness settled upon me, I found myself crying. If ever there was a less convenient time to cry, I could scarcely name it. I wiped my tear-stained face with my arm, as though hoping to likewise banish my sorrows. Meanwhile, above ground... Oh? Akechi and Kobayashi stood in St. Spira Church. Yeah, come and get me. Their gazes were fixed on a single man who stood motionless within the chapel.
明智はどう思う？あの男。
教会の礼拝にしては 挙動が明らかにおかしいですね。ずっとひとところにとどまり、周囲を見回している。まるで何かの見張りのようです。
どうする？もう少し様子を。
いえ、待てません。
Haha!
え、明智ちょっと。
Akechi, this is a bit too much, but that's okay. Kobayashi tried in vain to hold him back. The man had taken notice of Akechi and began moving to intercept him, but with a few swift motions, Akechi had locked the man tightly in a restraining hold.
お前ら、デハルさんのところの、どうしてここがバレて。
やっぱりデハルさんが絡んでたんだ。
すみませんが、簡潔に話を聞かせてください。
Yeah, formal as always, huh, Akechi? Akechi tightened his hold on the man.
手荒な真似はしたくない。ですが。
Akechi is fool, and fools jump in where the angels fear to tread. Yeah. Now this is the good kind of fool, Akechi. In this instance, at least.
彼女が関わっているなら、話は別なんです。
He's here to protect us. I could not tell how much time had passed. The only certainty was the slowness of its passage. But after once more wiping the tears that fell heedless of my own will,
卑怯だぞお前ら。子供を盾にするなんて。
oh geez.
猿相手に卑怯とかあんのか？笑わせんなよ。
Wow. Not only are they cultists and child sacrificers, they're also racist.
あの鏡の間に潜り込むなんて、お前勇敢なのか？バカなのか？
この声は。
That's right. It's Kobayashi here to save the day.
猿は猿らしく、そこのネズミと動物同士仲良くしてな。
The voices had drawn quite close, and I peered out in time to see someone being kicked into the cell beside mine. And for a moment, I was stunned into silence at the familiar face that met my gaze.
小林くん。
Hurrying to the bar separating ourselves, I reached through and clasped his hands in mine. Oh, hand-holding?
レディ、やっぱり捕まってたんだな。大丈夫だったか？怪我してないか？
Will Akechi be jealous?
私は大丈夫。それよりも小林くんの方が。
こんなの何でもないって。全然大したことない。ってくっそ。変な全面鏡に閉じ込められるし、反撃しようとしたら。
Kobayashi staggered as he attempted to stand once more, holding his chest with his free hand.
せっかくあいつと二手に分かれて探ってたのに、まんまと捕まるなんて。
ダメよ。むやみに動いちゃう。
なんだよネズミ。あれだけ話しかけてもだんまり決め込んでたくせに、お友達が来たらずいぶん元気じゃねえか。
Wow.
レディ、おい、お前。
Suddenly, the guard grabbed me from behind, pinning me against his chest with all his strength. Oh, geez. Ah. The aroma of crystal hung thick in the air, and my head felt as though it was going to burst.
離して。
そんなに元気ならさ、
Oh,
ちょ
geez.
っと俺に付き合えよ。
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Oh, geez.
なになに？よく聞こえなかったんだけど、もう一回。
それなら、もう一度言ってあげますよ。
Okay. In the darkness of the cavern, I heard a familiar voice. The guard's arms loosened their grip and fell away entirely as the man crumpled to the ground. Took you long enough, Akechi. I'm beginning to think the child-sacrificing racists might be bad people. Mayhaps.
彼女から離れてください。
I knew that silver-framed face all too well. His eyes were narrowed, his form poised.
明智さん。
Yeah, you really did come for us. My relief at seeing him there overwhelmed me.
ミス・ホワイトリー。
Huh? I feared for a moment I might stop breathing entirely. Oh, look at him. Oh, he's so relieved. Oh. Akechi staggered toward me, as though momentarily taking leave of his balance, but wrapped his arms around me, catching himself. It was all so sudden that I was fixed to the spot.
明智さん。
すみません。あなたの顔を見たら安心してしまって。
あ
明智さん。
あなたが無事でよかったです。
Now this is vulnerability.
明智さん、すごく苦しそうだわ。それに、この
Akechi's breathing came ragged and uneven, and the scent of crystal clinging about him was stronger still than that of the guard he had struck down with the back of his blade. Oh, he's on drugs and still had it in him to use the blunt side. Seeing him in such obvious agony drained the color from my face.
明智さん、何かあったの？
見張りを10人ほど倒した後、変な魔法陣の部屋で子供を止めようとして。
Oh.
子供。
Yeah? Are the children safe? Memories of that lurid sight I had witnessed just before my capture came flooding back.
止めた直後に彼にデハルに何か薬のようなものを。
I understand. So it's time to kill Dehar.
ですが、情けないですね。こんな姿、あなたにだけは見られたくなかったのに。結局、僕なんて情けないやつのまま。
Though I couldn't see his expression, the trembling in his voice sounded as though he was in great pain, anguish both physical and mental.
情けなくなんかないわ。
And besides, we like it when you're vulnerable with us, Akechi. Akechi, perhaps in a lucid moment of awareness, released his hold on me, but overcome by our reunion, I clung to him, keeping him near.
情けなくなんかない。そんなこと絶対ないわ。
ミス、お一人。
明智さんが言ったのよ。自分なんてって、自分自身を投げやりに扱ってはいけないって。
Too choked up to continue, I simply clung to him in silence, and Kobayashi was just in the next cell watching. Akechi was a man ever ready to run to the aid of someone in need, heedless of the danger to himself, and right now was no exception. I could never regard someone so full of kindness as pitiful, and I wished I could convey those very thoughts to him, but the words caught in my throat and only tears poured forth once more.
顔を見れて安心したのは、私も同じだったのね。
Not yet wanting to separate myself from that moment of relief, I tightened my arms around his chest. Following our reunion, we availed ourselves of the key the unconscious guard had in his possession, and freed from ourselves, we tended to Akechi as he rested in an area well hidden from view.
明智さん、お水は？
ありがとうございます。
明智がこんなになるなんて、とんでもない薬だな。
Quaffing the water I had with me seemed to have done much to aid in Akechi's recovery.
ここにいる間に見張りが話していた情報を聞いておいたの。彼らはもう間もなくここの子供たちを組織の兵士として香港へ運び出すと言っていたわ。それに地下の証拠を残さないように全て焼き払うって。
That I hadn't heard of. You should have probably mentioned that earlier, Freya.
子供たちを助けるためにも今はここから出てスコットランドヤードに伝えなきゃ。
小林、今の僕はまだ機敏性に欠けます。 なので。
分かったよ。俺が先導する。お前はしっかりレディに面倒見られてろ。
面倒を見られてろなんて。
レディ、明智のこと頼むよ。
You can count on us.
ええ、わかった。
ミス・ホワイトリー、
明智さん、
あなたには後で聞いてもらわなければならないことがあるんです。だから。
Is it a love confession? Yes, being trapped in a burning building is a bad plan.
おい、明智、そういうこの戦いが終わったら俺と結婚してくれってセリフはやめろ。いつだろう。
It's a death flag.
いつ火がつけられるかわかんないんだ。急いでここを出よう。
今は僕に任せろとは言えませんが。
Akechi gently took my hand in his. Oh?
あなたの手を引くくらいのことはさせてください。
Oh, this might as well be a love confession.
ありがとう。
I tightened my grip, feeling the warmth of his palm. And so we began our escape. The surface seemed far, however, and our current plight would not be so easily resolved. Countless children, their minds muddled by the fumes of the cult's drug, streamed out to block our way one after another. Had it been members of the organization standing in our way, the matter would have been a simpler one, but the children were merely victims, innocents brought there against their will. Both Akechi and Kobayashi refused to harm them, making their task all the more difficult. Finally, with great trouble, we finally reached the staircase that led to the surface. But at that moment, a terrible sight greeted us. Is it Dehar? Akechi froze in horror, his gaze focused on a single figure ahead. It's Dehar. Oh jeez! Oh jeez! Oh, Akechi is remembering. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
家族が
Oh jeez.
金はやるから今この場で小刀で自分の腹を切ってみせろ。
Oh jeez.
って言ってだけど師匠はそんな明智をお前はもう弟子じゃないって
Ah jeez.
追い出したんだ。明智、こっちに来てから師匠のことは一切話さないけど
All the other children nearby seemed to be in such a trance that they paid the boy no heed.
二人とも早く。
Even as Kobayashi's words landed on Akechi's ears, I was already in motion. I relinquished my grasp on Akechi's hand and thrust him away with all the strength I could muster. I made a dash toward the boy who seemed poised at any moment.
ミス・ホワイトリー。
Throwing my arms around the boy, I cradled him in my embrace. The knife clattered to the floor, released from his small, shaking hands.
大丈夫よ。大丈夫だから。
My head swam. Perhaps they were burning an even more potent form of their drug, or perhaps they had already set the fire to destroy the evidence gathered here. Whatever it might have been, with the boy still clutched to my breast, my vision blurred and consciousness fled from me once more. The last I remembered before the world went black was someone calling my name, as from a great distance. Ah, jeez. Ah, jeez. That...
戦場の対決。
Oh, jeez, are we actually going to Hong Kong?
そうですか。お嬢様はその救貧員の子供たちと共に組織に連れ去られたと。
How? Akechi! Akechi! You are supposed to save us. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. London Detective Mysteria, indeed. Now we're Hong Kong Detective Mysteria. Who was Mysteria? Help? Oh, I have no idea how long this upcoming chapter is. Should I? I don't want to leave things on a cliffhanger. Okay, yeah, why not? Let's do another 2-chapter day today.
まったく、子供を助けようとして再び捕らえられるなんて。お嬢様には困ったものです。
You could change it to oh boy? The great fire that broke out below Saint Spira Church pressed it in its intensity as Akechi stood at the threshold, ready to rush back in to save Freya.
ミス・ホワイトリー、
おい待て明智。
小林、話してください。早く彼女を。
お前を火の中に飛び込ませるわけにいかないだろう。
ですが、離せ、手を離せ、セイジ。
セイジ。
それはできない。お前のケンちゃんの頼みでも絶対に。
Look, he said Ken-chan. Oh, the translation says Akechi, but out loud he's called him Ken-chan again. Oh, these two really are childhood friends. No sooner had Kobayashi dragged Akechi back to the surface than the blaze began to quickly spread through the underground, enkindling even small fires on the surface and causing an uproar. Once the flames had abated, there were no bodies to be found, or traces of the ritual that had been taken place.
あの教会の地下一帯の焼け跡に残されていた薬、あれは通称クリスタルと呼ばれる。初期症状は喉の渇き、頭痛、軽い麻痺程度ですが、過剰に摂取すると神経に異常をきたし、幻覚、脱力作用のあるエリクシルとは効力が違いますが、非常に危険な代物です。明智君、小林君、二人とも少なからず地下でクリスタルを摂取したはずです。
Akechi and Kobayashi indicated the negative with a weak shake of their heads.
それならよかった。では、後のことは私に任せて。
Kendall gun.
あなたにはもっと他に言いたいことがあるのでは。
Like normally Pendleton would lecture these two.
明智君、勘違いをしないでください。今はあなたを責める時間すら惜しい。構っている暇などありません。
ペンデルトンさん、それじゃあ俺たちも。
いえ、結構です。
Pendleton
ってまだ何も言ってないぞ。
あなたたちのような子供に一体何ができると言うんです。思い上がらないでください。それに教会の現場には薬以外の物的証拠は何も残されていません。宮賓院の子供たちの失踪や教会地下での儀式、あなたたちが主張したところで異国の子供のザレ言と受け取られるだけです。
このまま黙って何もするなと言うんですか、あなたは。
言ったはずですよ、明智君。あなたたちの助けは結構だと。それだけです。無力に打ちひしがれている者の力など頼りにできませんからね。アリシアに行って屋敷の客間を用意させています。今夜はもう遅い。休んでいきなさい。
Having said thus, Pendleton excused himself, leaving the two alone in the room.
おい、明智。
Ken-chan?
彼女は迷うことなく子供を助けることを選びました。ですが、あの時僕は迷いました。自分の過去にとらわれて。小林、お前の言う通りですね。ミス・ホワイトリーはとても強い女性です。
Akechi's voice was weak, his eyes downcast.
明智、やっぱりお前、あの時昔のことを思い出したのか。あの時も子供が自分で自分のこと刺そうとしてたもんな。
いくら自分で納得しても振り切ったと思っても、似た状況に直面した途端動けなくなるなんて、過去に後悔なんてしてるはずはありません。それなのに僕は迷いました。そんな暇があったら彼女と一緒に子供を助ければよかったのに。僕は。
Akechi bit his lip in frustration, his gaze still fixed toward the floor.
お前もそんな風に自分を悔やむことがあるんだな。だけど今そんなことしてる暇ないんじゃないか。明智は人の言葉を素直に受け取りすぎなんだよ。
Like what? Weren't he raised in a society built on subtext, Akechi?
ペンデルトンさん、俺たちの助けはいらないって言ってたけど、俺たちに何もするなとは言ってないじゃん。それとも明智はこのまま誰かにレディーを任せて潔く引き下がるつもりなのか？
そんなことできるわけないでしょ。
Attaboy.
だろ。じゃあ問題ないよ。人の言うこと聞いてるだけじゃ好きな女の子はものにできないぜ。
お前の言う通りかもしれませんね。
He's not. He's not denying it. The next morning, House Whiteley's head maid, Alicia, called for Pendleton with a look of bewilderment on her face.
明智君と小林君が？
ええ、どこにも姿が見当たらなくて、ベッドはまるで使う前のようにきれいに整えてあったのですが。
そうですか。やはりおとなしくしているわけがありませんでしたね。
They passed the
律儀
test.
なところはさすがですが。
だけど、これがベッドの脇に落ちていて。
おやおや、忘れ物ですか。これは小林君のものでしょうか。
Alicia handed what she had found to Pendleton.
アリシア、すみませんがしばらくの間、屋敷をお願いします。
Alicia is the MVP here.
任せてくださいな。その代わり、お嬢様を頼みますよ。
もちろんです。
With Alicia and the other maids to see him off, Pendleton departed the mansion. Meanwhile, elsewhere in London, Akechi and Kobayashi had made their way to the shore of the river Thames.
小林、学園寮で聞いたテムズ川の幽霊船の噂を覚えていますか？
Not just I will, of course. Yeah, and that's why we love Pendleton. Pendleton who has no root.
ああ、悪さする子供の魂を連れて行くぞっていう脅しだろ。
Thames is pronounced Thames? Oh, the river Thames. The river Temi Undertale.
深夜の霧がかかったテムズ川と幽霊船。人目を避けて船で人間を運ぶには理想的な状況だと思いませんか？
Oh, a man-made urban legend, you say? Hi, Fee! Welcome! We got kidnapped!
特に泣き叫ぶ子供を運び出すには。
うさんくさい噂に聞こえるけど、実際に子供たちをさらってる組織もあったもんな。でもどうやって調べるんだ？
Kobayashi trailed off as his eyes were drawn to a slip of paper in Akechi's hand.
おい明智、お前どうしたんだその地図。
教会の地下で見張りから鍵を奪った際に一緒にお借りしたんです。
I can't read it from this far away.
お前よくそんな余裕あったな。
I mean, he can't forget to loot.
体が動かずとも頭で考えることができますから。
Are you sure?
この地図に示されている航路の始まりはこのテムズ川の上流です。ですがちょうど港の位置、しかもこの岸が入り組んでいる部分に印がついています。
Kobayashi scanned the map of the riverfront.
この場所ってあれだろ、俺たちが日本から来た時。
ええ、ほとんど配線置き場と化している場所だそうです。この地帯は深夜の時間には霧の影響を受けて船の出入港のチェックが困難になるでしょう。密かに積み荷を回収し船を出港するには好都合です。
それで明智はどうするんだ？このことをペンデルトンさんに知らせなかったってことは。
彼女は僕の代わりに捕まったようなものです。
Is this another honor thing, Akechi? His voice betrayed the anguish he felt.
僕は彼女の手を離してしまった。だから今度はそんな愚かな真似はしたくないんです。
And here it grows again.
小林、お前の言う通り 人の言葉を聞き入れるだけでは彼女を助けられない。
I'm sorry, Kobayashi, it's just covering your entire face. Let me see. It was... Here we go. We can just perch this up here. There we go.
真面目だった明智も言うようになったじゃん。
小林、僕の意志にお前を巻き込むようなことになって。
Yeah, you do owe him a lot.
そんなの今更だろ。乗りかかった船だよ。最後まで付き合わせろって。
ありがとうございます。
Light was the toll of the night, and a thick fog blanketed the port. Under cover of mist and darkness, Akechi and Kobayashi made their way to the port upon the riverfront, guided by the map. Nearby, several decommissioned ships bobbed at their moorings. The figures of 4 or 5 suspicious-looking men could even be seen in the dim light. All of them seemed attentive, clearly on watch for something.
うわ、あの見張りの一人、何か見覚えがあると思ったら。
Kobayashi scowled, still pressing his face to the telescope as he scanned the docks. Is it Dehar?
教会の地下で、
Oh wow.
足毛にしたやつじゃん。レディーにも悪質な嫌がらせしてたし。
So it's personal then.
クリスタルを受けていなければもっとしっかり懲らしめたものを。
Akechi's fist tightened around the sheath of his katana.
あんなに警戒してるんだ。子供を運ぼうとしてるのは間違いなさそうだけど。いいか、明智。
Kobayashi spoke, sliding his slingshot from his target and giving its band a firm tug.
俺が爆竹で見張りの気をそらすから、お前はその隙にあの岸辺まで行って彼女の無事を確認してきてくれよ。
小林ですが、それでは周囲の警戒が。
この霧の中だ。視界はほとんど効かないし、気配に鋭い明智なら容易に忍び込めるだろう。それに明智、レディーが心配でたまらないって顔してるし。
He's stepping aside for the real love interest.
わかりました。
言っておくけど、あんまり長居するなよ。俺も陽動できる時間は限られるから。
Before the last word left his mouth, Kobayashi had loosened his slingshot's pouch, sending one of his firecrackers sailing toward the other side of the port. A series of loud snapping noises echoed through the quiet night air.
なんだあの音は。おい、行くぞ。
The guards hurried off in the direction from which the sounds had come.
ほら、今のうちに。
わかった。
There, the two of them parted ways, hurrying out into the fog. Yeah, he is such a puppy.
なんて深い霧。檻の外が何も見えないわ。さっき遠くで見張りが何か叫んでいたけれど。
Many cages were lined up nearby, children held captive in each, but I heard not a thing from any of them. Not a cry of anger, not even a quiet sob. No doubt something must have been done to stop them from making any noise.
このままじゃ子供たちを助けるどころか。
Filled with a growing sense of unease, I found my hands curled around the bars of my cage more tightly with each passing minute. But then, something began to happen.
お前
Here he comes! I heard a short scream accented with pain and panic, then the sound of something hitting the floor.
何？誰かいるの？
It's the bay! I tried to peer outside, but the fog obscured all but the nearest sights. Cautiousness got the better of me, however, and I released my grip on the cell's bars. But just as I did...
待ってください。
The face was indeed Akechi's, but his voice had an edge of panic to it that seemed very unlike him. As I heard the footsteps approach, I felt someone reach out and grab my hand.
この手は。
Criminals have warm hands too, Freya. It was the very hand whose grasp I had let fall away in the caverns beneath the church.
明智さん。
ミス・ホワイトリー、無事ですか？
His face and hair, usually beautiful and clean, both showed a light dusting of dirt, and his breath came heavy. I could only begin to imagine the peril he had put himself in to come so far for my sake. I felt so humbled in that moment that I could scarce bring my gaze to meet his.
私は大丈夫。平気よ。怪我も。
I tried to quiet the quavering in my voice as best I could, so as not to worry him any more than I must have already done.
ごめんなさい。私、明智さんに迷惑しかかけてない。
You didn't do anything wrong, Freya. It's all because Akechi is fool.
本当にごめんなさい。
Is it kiss time?
大方、想像はついていましたが、あなたはやっぱりこういう時も強がりなのですね。
I found myself finally looking up at him. Akechi, meanwhile, gazed down at me, a bittersweet smile playing at his own lips. Hi, Taiga! Hey, we just got kidnapped and now Akechi is saving us? Yet despite that, the light within his eyes remained soft and kind. Seeing him there with that look upon his face, I felt at last that all the tension that had wound tightly within my frame began to unspool, and the more it did, the more the tears threatened to come. Kidnapped? We.
私は強がりなんか。
His gentle voice and the quiet clarity of his eyes transfixed me there, unable to move. I did not wish to cause for him any more trouble than that which presently faced us both. And more, I did not wish him to think me as pitiful as I felt in truth. Pro tip, Akechi has lips? Yeah! And yet my tears would not cease. My only desire was to cling to his outstretched hand. Do it.
ごめんなさい。
All I could muster was apology upon apology, head turned downward.
もう謝らないでください。
Kiss the girl.
僕はあなたのような勇敢な女性を知りません。あなたほど心の優しい女性も知りません。
What does Sir Fate mean? Akechi spoke quietly, caressing my cheek. His touch was as the softest silk upon my face.
だからそんな顔で謝らないでください。あなたは何も間違ったことはしていないのですから、お願いですから。自分を責めないでください。
Akechi. I found myself then worried that no matter how I tried to conceal them, my tear-stained cheeks and the trembling in my voice would betray to him the fear and helplessness that struck at my heart. However,
大丈夫ですから。怖がらないでください。
kiss? His voice, like a sunbeam, pierced the gloom that had enveloped me.
僕はあなたを安心させたい。あなたに優しくしたい。
優しくしたい。
そしてあなたを笑顔にしたい。あなたの笑った顔が見たくてたまらない。
Akechi gently drew me closer to him. His voice, his hands, his voice, his eyes, his hands. Can we see his hands? Ensconced in such reassuring warmth, my fears began slowly to fall away.
だからせめて今はあなたが少しでも安らぎを感じてくれるんだったら、僕は。
His face was now mere inches from mine, the whole aspect of him having taken on an incredible compassion. Though my hair had become matted in the time I had last seen him, he brushed it from my face without seeming to pay it any mind, planting a soft kiss on my head. The iron bars of the cage still separated us, himself free while I remained a captive. Akechi, I think that you should have maybe handled that first. Oh. but her intertwined fingers and his lips pressed against my forehead made me feel as though whatever now faced us, we could overcome it.
私今すごく安心している。
He caressed me gently and kindly, as though to reassure me that the touch from which I had broken away was once again here for me. Forehead. Yeah, you can't blame him. He's a monster virgin. A catchy pro tip, Miss Whiteley has lips too. I could feel the tightness in my own throat as well, and the occasional shiver and shudder of my body. I was overwhelmed with happiness, that he had thought so much of me that he was even now trying to do his utmost for my sake. Tears streamed down my cheeks once more, but this time they flowed not from the cold well of uncertainty, but from the font of joy.
Miss Whiteley.
Oh, look at their hands. Oh, I'm so happy for them. He peered into my eyes, and only then taking stock of myself did I register the embarrassment of being seen with tears spilling down my face.
明智さん、今日は顔を真っ赤にして離れないのね。
Even in my happiness, I found myself saying something less than endearing in spite of myself.
そうですね。正直今の僕はとても見苦しい顔をしていると思います。
It's okay, we can look at your face all day. A cursory examination revealed that his face did in fact have a reddish look about it.
でも今はそれ以上にあなたのそばにいたいと思ったんです。どんなにハレンチだと思われても。
そんなこと明智さんに思わないわ。
Oh. I couldn't help but smile as he grew embarrassed at the realization of his own words.
明智さんがいてくれてとても嬉しい。ありがとう明智さん。
I wished to be honest, to tell him how I truly felt, but the stronger my feelings burned, the more I was overcome by them, rendering me unable to continue.
お礼を言いたいのは僕の方です。僕はあなたからいただいた恩も喜びも感謝も。
You can repay us with half your life, and we'll give you half of
あなた
ours.
にで窮屈な思いをさせてしまいますが、もう少しだけ待っていてください。
Ah.
あなたを必ず助け出します。どうか僕を信じてください。
Akechi softly caressed my cheek, still moist with tears. He remained by my side as long as he possibly could, up to the moment we heard the sound of guards in the far distance.
大丈夫だったか、明智。
はい、小林、そっちは。
あ
Ah, whoops, I accidentally skipped that.
ああ、問題ないよ。この霧のおかげで楽に動けたし。あいつら目に頼りすぎだっての。
After leaving Freya's side, Akechi had crept back to reunite with Kobayashi.
レディは大丈夫だった？
ええ、ですが早く助け出さないと。
あんまり焦るなよ。相手は海の上に浮かぶ船の中。確か明智って泳げなかっただろ。海に投げ出されたら大変だぞ。
僕はそんなに泳ぎが上手くないだけです。泳げないわけではありません。
That sounds like it's spoken by somebody who can't swim, Akechi.
ですが泳いで船に乗り込んでは甲板に上がったところを見張りに見つかる可能性があります。
それじゃあどうする？積み荷に紛れるとか？積み荷といえば陽動してる最中にソファーとかテーブルとか高そうな調度品ばっかり集めてる場所があったな。あれも子供たちと一緒に香港まで運ぶつもりみたいだけど。
ソファーにテーブル。
Akechi paused a moment, the wheels in his mind spinning.
小林、その場所へ案内してください。
いいけど明智、
時間がありません。急ぎましょう。
Are they going to hide inside an actual chair?
待てって明智。
A single motor-driven ship cut across the water, ferrying within it Freya and many children. The vibrations of the engine and the rhythmic churn of the waves beneath caused the vessel to occasionally pitch and sway.
やっぱり船は慣れない。早く揺れ、収まってくれねえかな。
Should have thought of that before you joined a crime organization. But just as the nauseous-looking guard was about to leave the hold, he let out a short cry, then collapsed, knocked unconscious by a fierce blow to the back of the head. It's okay. You can't be seasick when you're unconscious.
あいにくですが、海の上に揺れを逃げられる場所なんてありませんよ。
Standing over the man's prone body, Akechi returned his katana to his side.
ずっと狭い場所にいたから体が痛い。まさか自分が人間椅子みたいな真似をするとは思わなかったな。
さすがに長椅子の中に潜む鍛錬は僕もしたことはありませんでしたよ。
He was going to leave on his own, Akechi? You didn't need to do that? No, you see, it was a favor. It was a favor. Akechi and Kobayashi locked the guard inside the hold, then began making their way deeper into the ship's interior. The corridors were filled with many guards, and progress was slow as the two plotted a careful course to avoid catching their attention.
見張りが多くてなかなか進めないな。それによく見たら俺たちが日本から持ってきた船と違って。
Wow, even crime ships are fancier than the ones that come from Japan, huh? That's really rude. Give them a smoother trip.
それはひがみですか？
いや、ただの感想。それよりも早くこの船のボスを見つけ出して捕まえなきゃ。このまま順調に航路に乗っかったら俺たちも香港行きだぜ。
言われなくても分かっています。
Their careful prowling eventually led the two to the ship's upper deck, where the thick fog billowed around them. However, the cover that shielded them from watchful eyes was even now dissipating, pushed away by the sea breeze.
おい、明智。
これは。
Oh? The first thing to catch Akechi and Kobayashi's eyes was a group of children bound in ties splayed out on the deck.
おい、お前ら。
眠らされているだけのようですが、どうしてこんなことを？
そんなの簡単な話だよ。君たちのような正義感のある侵入者を手っ取り早く捕らえるためさ。
Akechi sensed a rapid movement from behind. In an instant, he had drawn his blade and dealt a turning slash. I mean, Japan wasn't really known for its ships. Really? I thought that Japan and England both had impressive navies due to being islands. The object split clean in twain, clattering to the deck.
これって。
ああ、せっかくの虎の仮面が。君、乱暴なことしてくれるね。まあ、そろそろ別な思考を凝らしてみようかと思ってたから別にいいけど、次はサンタクロースあたりにしてみるかな。
It's him. It's the hot guy with the really long neck. It's him. It's him. It's him. At the sight of the stranger, both Akechi and Kobayashi brought their weapons to the ready. His eyes flickered icily in the darkness of the night. Oh, this is a really cool screen. Savin.
おいおい、いきなり敵意むき出しなんてご挨拶だな。名前くらい名乗ってもいいんじゃないのか。これでも僕、君たちより年上なんだけど。
That did happen eventually, but up until the Bakumatsu, which I think is just about to start the year this game's set. I see.
あいにくですが、あなたのようないけすかない人物に名乗る名前などありません。
ふうわ、初対面なのにそこまで言っちゃうんだ。そこの侍くん、日本人のくせに失礼だね。
日本人ってお前、俺たちのこと知ってるのか。
まあね、そこにいるデハルくんは僕の手駒だから。
ポーロック様、何度も言っていますが、私は手駒ではなく
はいはい僕、自分で忠実とか言って飾り立てるやつは嫌いなの。僕の代わりに子供を集めてきたからってあんまり調子に乗らないでよね。
He spoke with an air of disinterest, but his words were biting, envenomed. Ah, be mean to us too.
ついでに言うと、無駄な労力をかけさせる相手も嫌いなんだよね。だから二人とも僕に嫌われたくなかったらおとなしく捕まりなよ。
お前の好き嫌いなんか知るかよ。別に好かれたいとも思わないし。
断ると言ったら
一人ずつそいつらを殺す。
Ho ho. At his words, Porlock's subordinates, arrayed behind him, leveled their rifles at Akechi and Kobayashi.
君たちが抵抗するたびに一人ずつ殺して海に放り込む。あ、二人ずつにしようか。君たちも二人だから。
Oh, he is awful. Porlock, you might be hot, but you're not very nice. Yeah, he's really not.
君たちが潔く捕まらなかったせいで何の罪もない子供たちが犠牲になる。わかりやすいよね。あの子たちを助けるためにここまで来たんだろう。その目的が目の前で消えてしまうのはちょっと悲しいんじゃないか。
確かにその通りです。ですが
ここでおとなしく捕まるわけにはいかない。
In an instant, the two of them raised their weapons to the ready and struck without a moment's notice.
こいつら
The pellets loosed from Kobayashi's slingshot stopped Porlock's thugs in their tracks. Capitalizing on the opening, Akechi immediately narrowed the gap between himself and Porlock, aiming the trajectory of his cut squarely at Porlock's neck. Oh? Are you using the sharp part this time? However... Oh? His blade stopped short, hovering a hair's breadth from Porlock's throat.
へえ、君、少しは周りを見る余裕があったんだね。だけど、聞こえなかったのかな。
Huh? A cruel grin twisted its way across Porlock's face as he raised the pistol in his hand.
一人目、撃ち殺すよ。
He pointed the gun at one of the bound children.
僕だって本当はこんなことしたくない。大事な道具を調整途中で壊すなんてもったいないし。それに、こう見えても僕、無駄な血を見るのは好きじゃない。安心しなよ。僕はどこかの右腕と違って、歯向かったものにも寛容だから。能力のあるものは生かすし、チャンスだって与える。
Wow, he really doesn't know who he's talking to.
さあ、どうする？僕が見たところ、君たちは子供を見殺しにできるような薄情者には見えないけど。
卑怯だな。そうやって自分より小さくて弱いやつを盾にして。
わかりました。
明智！
その代わり縛られている子供たちは中に戻してください。
Time to expand this again.
侍くんは顔に似合わず優しいんだね。でも要求するからにはもうちょっと誠意を見せてくれない？
Well, do you want him to chop off the end of his pinky?
例えば武器を捨てる。
おい、明智、でもその刀は。
Kobayashi's words died in the night air as Akechi's sword and sheath both clattered to the deck.
これで満足ですか？
Akechi's expression remained calm and unflinching. But his clenched fists could be clearly seen in the polished surface of his blade. After being relieved of their weapons, Akechi and Kobayashi were summarily thrown into a holding cell by Porlock and his subordinates. However...
一体どういうつもりですか？
そんな怖い顔しないでくれないか？せっかくの美味しいポートワインがまずくなる。
Not long after, Akechi had been summoned by Porlock and now stood face to face with him.
侍くんも飲んでみる？普通のワインよりも度数高めだけど。
Hey, he's underage.
結構です。
見た目通り侍くんはお堅いな。
No corrupting the youth. Brushing aside Akechi's rejection, Porlock quaffed the last of the wine in his glass.
言葉のままだよ。僕の仲間にならないって。僕もいろいろ忙しいんだよね。人材を集めたり、暗号でスペルバウンドの情報を伝達したり、こうして海の向こうにもスペルバウンドの拠点を作らないといけないから。君、堅物そうだけど腕は立ちそうだし、自分の役目にはすごく責任持ってくれそうだから。
お断りします。
これでも君の功績を称えているんだけどな。今まで散々僕の役に立ってきてくれたんだから。
何の話ですか？
は
さっき言っただろ。デハル君は僕の手駒だって。
right, the background checks that Akechi was made to do.
僕の指示だよ。君たち能力はあるのに随分苦労してたみたいだからね。上っ面の親切にも簡単に騙されてくれたわけだ。
Right.
君たちはよく働いてくれたよ。僕たちに代わって調べてくれた裏切り者の動向、実に正確だった。
まさか身辺調査の後に全員行方不明になっていたのは。
綺麗に片付けてくれたさ。幼い頃からスペルバウンドで鍛えられたエリートたちが。
Wait, how old is this cult? Because if it's from child... Porlock? How old is Porlock?
賢い君ならわかるだろう。君はもう僕たちの共犯者だ。
Even Porlock's voice is hot. I want to see him punched out, right?
僕たちを騙しておいて。
騙される方が悪いんだよ。愚直に人の心なんて信じるからさ。
Porlock flashed him a derisive grin.
侍くん、君の目にこの国はそんなに心の綺麗な場所に見えるのか？それはおかしいよ。色眼鏡で見すぎじゃないのか？それともそんなに自分の居場所がどこかに欲しかったのかい？
That is a face.
ああ、そう。残念だけど、この国にそんな優しい場所なんてないよ。期待するだけ無駄さ。
あなたはこの国の人間なのに故郷を快く思っていないんですね。
ああ、そうだね。滅んでしまえばいいのにって思ってるよ。君だって見ただろ？給品員の痩せ細った子供たちを。弱者のための給品法が制定されて、福祉国家イギリスなんて言われているけど、そんなの外面だけさ。
I'm not familiar with this part of history.
働ける者は強制労働に駆り出され、動けない者は監獄同然の場所に収容される。
Debtor's prison.
それがこの国の推し進める政策さ。実際には強者が住みやすく、弱者がさらに生きにくくなったに過ぎないんだよ。弱者っていうのは誰のことを指しているのかわかるよね。貧民や偉人、ちょうど君のように差別され虐げられている者のことさ。
At the word weak, Akechi clenched his fists all the more tightly.
そんな狭苦しい場所に閉じ込められるよりもっと広くて自由な世界を見たいと思うのは当然だろう。僕はもっと自由になりたい。生まれにも人にも身分にも縛られない場所が欲しい。組織にいるのだってそのためさ。
I mean, he's right, but I don't see what bringing child soldiers to Hong Kong will do to accomplish that.
君だってもっと自分の力を評価されたいんじゃないのか？
I mean, yes, eat the rich, but what does the child killing have to do with this?
能力の差ではなく、生まれ落ちた場所の差で低く見られてきたことはないのか？
Porlock, explain the child sacrifice? What does the cult have to do with this?
周囲の怠け者が自分よりもいい扱いを受けて辛い思いをしてきたんじゃないのか？
Poor houses too, they'd put poor people to manual labor for a charitable pittance. Some were simple sweatshops making a profit, others would have the poor do needless tasks, peddling mills that weren't grinding anything just so they'd earn that money. Oh, jeez!
そうですね。確かにそう感じたことはあります。
それならもっと周りに自分を認められたいと思ったこともあるはずだ。どう？もっと君の能力を生かしてみない？
Warlock, we've spoken to your men. Your men are also racist.
あなたが僕に言いたいことはそれだけですか？
Akechi addressed Porlock flatly, looking him squarely in the eye.
確かに僕はこの国では弱者に値するかもしれません。ですが僕はあなたと違います。生まれからも境遇からも人との出会いからも逃げ出そうとは思いません。
It's weird that he's objecting to this and not asking what the child murder has to do with it.
僕があなたに従うことなど断じてない。
Yes, for example, he's not about to go murder children. Porlock stared at Akechi, eyes narrowing.
へえ、東洋人の君にこうして目をかけてあげてるのに、その行為をありがたいとは思わないわけ？
人を道具としか考えていないあなたの行為など願い下げです。
あのさ、侍くん、君がここに乗り込んできたのって子供たちを助けるためだったよね。本当にそれだけ？
Ah, he knows.
それが何か？
いや、別に。未来ある子供たちのためにそこまで一生懸命になれる君に感心してるだけさ。
Racism drains the hot right out. It really does.
もっとこう個人的な理由でもあるのかと思ったからさ。次に誘った時には侍くんからの誠意ある返答を期待しているよ。その時はどう？一杯飲まない？
He's underage.
お断りします。
Unease nodded at his Akechi as he observed Porlock's foreboding smile. The conversation finished. Akechi was led back to his cell. No sooner had the iron door closed than Kobayashi hurried over.
アケチ、大丈夫だったか？あいつ、一体お前に何の用だったんだよ。
Akechi relayed to Kobayashi his conversation with Porlock.
そんな、俺たち、デハルやポーロックに、あんな騙されていたとはいえ、俺たちが犯罪の片棒を担いでいたなんて。
小林、気持ちはわかりますが、すでにこの船は動き出しています。そんなことに気を取られている場合じゃない。今はどうやって彼らを止めるかを考えなければ。
そんなことってお前どういうことか分かってるのか？俺たちのせいで人が死んだ、殺されたんだぞ、俺たちの気づかないところで。
Oh, Kobayashi.
それくらい分かっています。
いや、分かってない。
Kobayashi. Kobayashi grabbed Akechi, his fingers tight around his friend's shoulders.
俺たちが目先の依頼に気を取られたせいで防げたはずのものにも気づけなかった。
小林、ちょっと静かにしてくれませんか？
Oh? This music?
この状況に気が立っているのは何もお前だけじゃない。
This is new.
大体明智はどうしてあんなにあっさりポーロックに投降したんだよ。俺と明智で戦えば。
あのままだと子供たちが危険でした。お前だって分かっていたはずです。
だからって素直すぎるんだよ。何のためらいもなしに刀を捨てやがって。
Oh, this is male bonding, isn't it? Suddenly, Kobayashi lashed out, striking Akechi. Akechi took the punch in stride, returning to his friend only a piercing glare.
誰も捨てたくて捨てたわけじゃありません。
じゃあそれじゃあお前の刀への誇りはどこに行ったんだよ。どんなに辛くてもそれだけは捨てようとしなかったのに。
黙っていればいい気になってベラベラと。お前に偉そうに説教される筋合いなんてない。
This time it was Akechi who lashed out to strike Kobayashi, his fist driving into his friend's cheek. But even as Kobayashi reeled from the punch, Akechi grabbed him by the shoulders. Boys, I don't think that this is healthy bonding. I think that this is what people usually call toxic masculinity.
人の気も知らないで知ったような顔をして僕を語るな。
よく言うよ。いつも冷静装って自分の気持ちを隠そうとしてるくせに。
Kobayashi wound back his fist, preparing to strike Akechi a second time.
そうやって強がって苦労を溜め込む面倒くさいやつの助手やってる俺の身にもなれ
Akechi continued to glare at him with the same piercing stare, clenching his fist tightly. No, this is pretty healthy as far as men go. They're actually being honest with emotions for a change. I mean, yeah. It would have helped earlier and maybe without the violence.
そんなに嫌だったらやめればいいだろ
Because he loves you, Akechi.
それが簡単にできたらこんなに苦労してないんだよこのバカ
僕をバカ呼ばわりするな
No, Akechi, you really are Baka. Let me expand this again.
人には師匠のこと話すなって言っといて一番気にしてるのは自分だろ
Yeah.
いい加減にしろよ
いい加減にするのはお前の方だ
Kobayashi grasped Akechi by the collar, slamming him into the wall. Kabedon?
丸腰のお前なんて怖くないんだよ刀のないケンちゃんなんてただのデクノボーだ
この調子に乗るなよ小林
上等だかかってこいよ
Kakatekoi! Their punch-punctuated argument escalated into a full-on fight as the two of them exchanged heated blows again and again until both fell to the ground exhausted.
いっててなあケンちゃん
You're already fighting Akechi?
ケンちゃんはやめてください
Too bad, Ken-chan.
じゃあアケチ俺たちこんなことしてる場合じゃないんじゃないか
You think?
お前から仕掛けてきたくせに
そこで乗ってきた明智も大概だろいつもだったら絶対に俺の相手なんて
年下相手にそんな大人げない真似できませんから
散々殴った後に言うセリフかよ
Kobayashi shot Akechi a dissatisfied glare.
それにお前とは喧嘩してる暇なんてありませんでした
ああ昔からそうだったよな俺がいじめられてた時も明智はいつも火星に駆けつけてくれたし
暴れたいだけなら放っておきますよお前はいつも決まって自分より小さいものを背中にかばっていたから
ごめんな明智
Akechi tilted his head, puzzled at Kobayashi's impromptu apology.
それは先ほどの先生に対する謝罪ですか
違うよ俺それに関しては謝るつもりないからあの時俺がもっと早く明智に加勢できてたら明智が家族の奴らに目をつけられることもなかったのかな
Oh, he's talking about back home.
お前が駆けつけたところで目をつけられる人数が一人から二人へ増えただけですよ面倒ごとをかぶったのが僕一人で済んでむしろほっとしました
なあケンちゃん
だからお前は何度言えば
頼むからそんなに強がるなよ
Yeah, listen to him.
お前師匠のことすごく尊敬してたじゃんあの人みたいになりたいって追い出されてよかったなんて言ってるけどさ本当はすごく寂しかったんじゃないのか
そんな
Akechi hesitated in his response, and Kobayashi simply continued to speak.
助けられながら援護しながらずっとお前を見てきたけどお前ほどバカで頼もしいやつ俺知らないよだけどお前が辛いのをごまかして鍛錬とかしてるのを見てるとこっちも辛くなるんだよな
You know how normally in otome games with angst and stuff, the heroine ends up solving all of her love interest's problems? Is Kobayashi the heroine?
でもさ、こうして倒れ込んだんだからさ、俺、お前から一本取ったってことでいいよね。だったら、俺の指示を。
自分だって倒れ込んでいるのに何を言っているんですか？相打ちは数に入りません。それに僕は今まで辛いだなんて一度も。
Stop it, Akechi.
自覚なしだから余計に立ち悪いんだよな。
Kobayashi has always been the heroine. Dang, you're right.
お前はさ、いっそすがすがしいくらいに弱音を吐けばいいんだよ。おい、明智。
Akechi, however, had fallen completely silent, and Kobayashi's words fell upon unhearing ears.
へえ、思ってたより可愛くて元気そうな子だね。はじめまして、お嬢さん。
Hajis. I think that instead of finishing the chapter, I'm probably going to leave off for tonight. Alright. I'm going to save this as... yeah, in case this turns out to be like 2 or 3 hours long, I don't want to do another super late night stream. I know that a couple of you should probably be asleep by now. It's been a wonderful time as always, and thank you as always for coming, Tuxedoji. Let me see. Let me see who is available to raid. Yeah. Butler. Let's go. Bye, Freya. Bye, Taiga. Sekiro, huh? I've been meaning to play that for a while, but I am really not great with those sorts of games. At any rate, alright, getting ready to raid. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it. Next week, we'll continue this, and I thought that Akechi's route would be a lot longer than this, but it's feeling like the climax. So maybe just, maybe next week we'll finish this, or the week afterwards? Unexpected. Well, getting to raid in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love you guys. And now it's Freya Fukunaga signing off. Bye bye.